Welcome to the Bellingham Podcast for the week of March 8, 2020. This is episode 147. Broadcasting to you from the Northwest of the Northwest. Since 2016, I am Chris Powell, and sitting nearby, always dressed to impress, but still a work in progress, he couldn't care less about a Facebook web address, making progress in creating this podcast to be a success, I must confess, a depthness of excess to express his progress of being merciless in his process to suppress stress. He's your friend and mine. Let me get it in one take. AJ Barce. AJ, for the love of Vito, Sonny, Michael, and Fredo, tell them how you're feeling.
Oh, let me do my wonderful tie around my neck because I am dressed to success for this stress. I'm doing well, Chris. How are you doing?
I'm so stressed out right now, dude.
Well, okay. Lie to me.
We're gonna
lie to me.
Lie to me. Life is awesome. Everything is awesome when you're with your friends. The Lego Movie thing. No, it's all good. It's just a whole lot of. I got a 5-letter word, starts with C, rhymes with COVID.
Oh well, yes, there is that. But let's get happy first. Before we get into that. So this is the second part of our 2-part episode. Episode 147 was on why we be stressing,
Yes.
And this is the second part of that, only because we had other things that kind of took up that episode. And last episode, actually, I had a lot of people reach out.
For the millions and millions of listeners of the Bellingham Podcast, we love you, and thanks for chiming in with all your comments.
Yeah, so first is friend of the show. He goes by @RisingSunSailor on Instagram. That's Danny. He said one of the things he was surprised that I didn't bring up on the last episode, which actually is in the notes for this one, is hashtag 2-wheel therapy.
Yes.
Which is a reference to motorcycling.
You're a gentleman riding.
Yeah. I mean, the fact is that, going for a drive, you're a hashtag 4-wheel therapist.
Yes.
And I mean, for us that are motorcycling, we naturally find usually a zen because it's monotasking. Mm-hmm. It's all about the road. It's all about the ride.
And focusing on not
Yes. The ping pong and Pac-Man effect need not apply. But
yes.
No, I thought it was shout out to Danny for pointing that out. But yeah, totally. Motorcycling is definitely a de-stressor for me as well as
not me, but yes, lots of people. Soon in better weather conditions, there'll be a lot of them de-stressing on behind the wheel.
Yeah, as soon as it's above freezing.
Yeah.
No, I'll take my bike off the crate. And then the other one is a friend of the show and good friend of ours, Deran.
Hi, Deran.
Sup, Deran, who's originally from Trinidad and Tobego. And him and I had a chat, and knowing about the show and the topic, he pointed out, culturally speaking, some cultures embraced stress through tradition. So, for instance, back in Trinidad, there is Carnaval, which is this huge in the streets, over the top with dancing and soca and costumes and stuff. And he was telling me, anywhere in the world, anybody who knows about the Carnival of Trinidad, that is the one thing that the stress purge every year that they look forward to is that they will skip Christmas, they will skip just to go to Carnival, mm-hmm. and it's a way of de-stressing as well as having fun but. The more important thing that he kind of relayed to me is that, for that week or however long that you're there, it's all about Carnival.
Yes.
And, getting away. I kind of feel like for us, it's an equivalent, at least for me, to hitting the mountain. It's that checking out for a bit and not having a care in the world.
I think it's a good way for us in America and the United States to take a look at other countries and go on, wouldn't that be nice if we had some kind of really, 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 really happy event that is more than just one day, that isn't manufactured by a corporation, that was just a societal, cultural, yay us, let's have fun and actually be nice to each other and have a good time.
And I kind of equated this locally, not near, I am not saying it is anywhere near Carnival, but if you're in Bellingham, I think ski to sea is really kind of that for us.
Sure.
It is a weekend where everybody, cuts loose.
Yes.
Unfortunately, ski to sea is quite some ways away from right now. So
indeed, like Sinead O'Connor said, nothing compares to Carnival.
Yes, exactly. So anyway, thanks Danny, and thanks Deran for the insights on the topic and on the show.
All right, that was some happy stuff, and we're going to stick to the happy. But let's do a little bit of a shout out to what's currently around
Yeah. So, I mean, one of the stressors, at least here in the state of Washington, is you may wherever you're at in the world, you may have heard that the Washington State has had its confirmed cases of COVID-19, also known as the coronavirus. And, here at the Bellingham Podcast, Chris and I just want to say, that is stressing out some people, especially if you have lowered immune systems, or if you have,
family or loved ones or friends who have lowered immune systems, or who have little kiddos who are, according to some reports, more susceptible.
Yeah. So, I mean, here on the show, we just wanted to say, everybody stay healthy, and hopefully you're practicing good common sense practices with, combating any type of hygiene-based bug like corona or flu or anything else.
That's our hope.
Yeah, just take care of yourself and pop some vitamin C while you're at it.
Yes, indeed.
One of the things that you and I talked about off the mic, and we've said on the show a few times, is that, especially in today's overly hyped, overly echoey chambered, kitschy headline-esque era that we live in, Chris and I put in the show notes a couple of links.
For the love of Blackjack Mulligan, drink water.
And vitamin C.
There you go.
There's two links. There's the I wanted to say who's who at the zoo when it comes to the coronavirus.
Who's who?
Well, yeah, the WHO,
the World Health Organization. Yes.
Ow! Okay, so who's who at the zoo? The WHO actually has an emergency disease kind of FAQ when it comes to this novel coronavirus. It's in the show notes, and also the WHO newsroom, because when it comes to the world, because again, our show is all over the world right now. Wherever you are at, the WHO actually has an up-to-date newsroom dedicated for this strain. And then for those peeps here in Washington State, our Department of Health, DOH, also has an emergencies page dedicated to this. So those are just our little public service announcements, I guess.
Right back at you.
Word.
So let's talk about, so we had a really good show last episode.
Previously on the Bellingham Podcast.
What he said. We talked a lot about the origins, or what stress involves, and how do we encounter stress in our lives, and then some of the aspects of what we do to combat it. We ran out of time because we like being within a half hour or so on our episodes so that we can be mindful of community-powered KMRE 102.3 FM.
And taking plenty of vitamin C streaming online at KMRE.org.
Yeah, the vitamin C is for...
community.
I thought it was for internet, but anyway.
Oh, that was bad.
You set me up and I missed it. All right. So... as far as some stress that AJ and I feel personally, this is a kind of another get to know your hosts bit on the show. There's a whole lot of stress as far as I have a 3/4 full bladder and I'm stuck in traffic and I am about maybe 7 miles from getting home. That's a mild form of stress. But there's some that are lifelong, or at least a long time stressors for me. All growing up, based on how things were for me, evolving as a little shaver in Sequim, Washington, I developed unreasonable standards or expectations for myself or my performance. For some of you that have done personality research and psychology research, I am a performance orientation aficionado. I do a lot of work so I can receive love or appreciation or do something to get people to like me. So even though my bosses may have a level of expectations for me for my work, even though my family may have a level of expectations for me as far as who I am as a person and my contributions to family and friends for that matter, I pole vault over those lines with my own unreasonable standards. Along those lines, as a technologist, I've done a whole lot of research, and I'm never, ever going to tell someone I know more than you. I have what some of the kids are referring to as imposter syndrome. Mm-hmm. In a lot of ways, it's pretty much having embarrassment or about a certain topic that you don't feel like you fit in or know enough to be able to hang. For lack of a better term. And every now and then it takes someone to be like Cher in Moonstruck to smack me across the face and say, snap out of it.
I won't do that to you, for the record.
Because you know what's good for you. But that's one source of stress where I don't feel like I know enough about what's going on. And then also recently, as I would go into a hospital or go into certain areas of society and encounter people, I have a problem where I feel stressed where I can't fix something. When someone that I care about is hurting or is in pain or has an illness or something like that, I can't be a mutant and like Jean Grey of X-Men, and being able to like fix some, or Rogue. I don't know what's going on with which X-Men provides life or heals. But I have that as far as the stress that I feel on a regular basis. So now that I've completely opened up my inner vulnerable self, AJ, what gives you some stress in the personal realm?
Well, I think for the last decade, I think actually, I'll take that back. In 2019, I think the word of the year was the word uncertainty, if I recall, or maybe it was 2018 or 2019. Yeah. And it was I feel it was a pretty apt analogy of what's been going on, especially for me in my life.
Yes.
There's been a lot of uncertainty around, situations at work and situations with health, especially with my kiddo and stuff. And that having consistent uncertainty where that became the norm, gave me beyond the clanks. And it's something that I'm still dealing with, It just that level of uncertainty of, I mean, for a lot of people, it was based off the economy, and perhaps even political, for some folks. But for me, like it was more at a macro level where it was just everything seemed to be hitting home, close to home.
Yep.
And that continuation of it, not seeing the end of it is kind of my uncertainty trigger, I guess.
When are we going to a commercial break?
When are we going to a commercial? We already did the cam right now. I'm just kidding.
No,
I get what
like
you're saying.
TV show.
Yeah. I'm waiting for the commercial break, and or at least give me the credits of this movie so I can start the next film.
Right.
For me personally, and I mentioned this, 50 or so episodes back, disconnecting from the hive mind buzz that was going on, reading all the headlines, all of that, which helped for the bigger stuff. But for me, like the other persistence of uncertainty, especially in work-life balance, was the SSDD effect. Same stuff, different day.
Yep, we're still keeping it clean, folks.
And that just kills me. Like not being able to have that creative outlet, and it's just okay, what is the triage of the day in the email?
But it's a warped version of our technology career because oftentimes every day's different. We don't know, it involves technology.
Yeah.
We don't know what we're not doing the same stuff. We're not going to set the table, or we're not going to file the same forms, or we're not going.
Sometimes that's the case,
right? We're not going to drive the same route.
Yeah.
In some other professions, but yeah, it's the same. It's the same grind.
Yes. And I'm glad that you said grind, because like for me, especially as a gamer, I hate grinders of levels, things that you just have to like crunch out just because you have to level up to the next thing. Yeah. And that's kind of been the vibe that I've felt. And a lot of people have felt that around us that I mean, just today, I had somebody come in my office and like, do you mind if I take a couple of minutes? I have a couch in my office, and they just sat down and I was like, cool, you cool? Yeah, I just need a minute. Took a couple of minutes and basically that, of course, I had chill hop music playing, which was funny. And they were just like, I greatly appreciate it. I was kind of feeling a bit stressed out with everything going on. I just needed to check out for 15 minutes. Cool.
What a healthy way of asking someone who's safe, such as yourself, to be able to take that mental, dare I say, smoke break.
Yeah.
From a healthy standpoint.
Right.
To be able to self-regulate, self-heal, just to have a little bit of a exhale. I admire that person for having the courage to do that.
Yeah. And then lastly, like for me, stuff just keeps on breaking.
Doesn't
Oh, the joys of home ownership. I
yeah.
currently have like 8 sections of fence, and just like anybody else in this town, fencing does not stay up because of the Bellingham Bay breeze or tornado of a wind that comes off of that bay. And I'm just, it's one of those things where you get done with what I just described of my day, and you get home and you're already tired, and then you look out your kitchen window and you see, section after section that's fallen over, and it's like, That's something else I need to add.
Moss on the roof,
Yeah.
siding that needs replaced, drywall that needs to be repatched,
Yeah.
a new front door, car repairs, other types of home improvement projects.
Chris, don't add to my list, okay? Don't
Scuffed up floors.
Right.
Shall I continue? No.
Yeah, but it's that continuous mental sliver of, again, there's no commercial break. So you and I guess different a little bit with our first one. You have unreasonable standards or expectations. Me, it's just the consistent feeling of uncertainty that hangs around my neck every day.
Predictability is a wonderful pillow for us to lay our head on.
Yeah. So to dovetail into this from more of a historical and cultural approach, I have a link in the show notes.
For the love of all 80s NWA pro wrestlers that I am not thinking of right now because this was an audible, drink.
I have a link from humanstress.ca.
Okay.
So I'm going to, SUP Canada. This is the Center of Studies of Human Stress, or CSHS.
Good enunciation.
Thank you. They are dedicated in improving the physical and mental health of Canadians by empowering individuals with scientifically grounded information on the effects of stress and the brain and body.
Sounds like a great place to work.
Yeah, and also their logo is a mammoth, and I thought that was super dope.
Awesome.
Okay, so from their website, quote, over the next 30 years, researchers conducted experiments showing that although the type of stressors resulting in release of stress hormones, which is, I believe, cortisol. The stress hormones are different for everyone. There are common elements to situations that elevate stress hormones in everyone, not just Canadians, everyone.
Human beings.
What I loved is that they discovered the recipe and the acronym is nuts.
Yes, it is.
No, seriously, it's nuts.
But that's what makes us
No,
nuts.
not bonkers. It's NUTS. It's nuts. I've been waiting all day.
Give me an N.
Novelty.
Give me a U.
Unpredictability.
Give me a T.
Threat to the ego.
Ego, huh?
Yeah, we'll get to that in a sec.
Give me an S.
Sense of control. Now, it's funny, NUTS, if you pull the three things that I listed and the three things that you listed, so for instance, unreasonable standards and expectations, that would be, control.
Threat to the ego.
Threat to the ego.
Yeah.
For me, novelty is uncertainty.
Yeah.
Or unpredictability. It doesn't matter who you are. And you and I just listed very transparently, and you hadn't read that part yet because I printed this out before the show. Right. So you didn't even know this was coming, but it doesn't matter. If you're listening to the show and, hopefully you're smiling at us because Chris and I try to keep it light. But if you think to yourself, self, am I nuts? And I don't mean like crazy, but think about it. Is the stress that you're feeling, is it due to a novelty? Is it due to some sort of unpredictability? Is there something that is a threat to your ego or something that is threatening your sense of control?
A lot of folks in an unpredictable era often want to take control of a situation to add a little bit more, to decrease their anxiety. Yeah.
So what I'm throwing out with the site from Canada, and I think they're out of Montreal. Don't quote me on that one. I can't remember. But what I think the Canadians have here is kind of the counter recipe. Think about these three letters and think about, if the stressor is one of these, how can you combat that? So like you said, a sense of control or lack of sense of control. How could you take steps to gain a little bit of control? Like we said last episode, it doesn't have to be a monumental
toggle switch flip.
Yeah,
we're not condoing things.
No, we're not call Marieing this, right?
No,
just taking a small step. What small step could you do to address that one letter in the NUTS acronym? If
let's enunciate that the NUTS acronym. We're still keeping it clean, folks.
Sorry, everyone. I still have a little bit of that cough.
Yes.
So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out and a link in the show notes to of course the center. I thought it was a pretty apt analogy of how we were going with the show.
Personally, while I do respect the Canadian Center for Studies on Human Stress, I'm going to go with sense of control, threat to the ego, unpredictability, and novelty. In America, I stun. Which is nuts spelled backwards.
I love it.
Anyway,
patent pending on that one. Sorry, Canada.
Right. Anyway, moving on.
So dovetailing into that, kind of going into one step further, what we were talking about blowing off steam.
Yes.
To try to kind of recenter yourself in healthy ways.
Sure.
We talked a little bit about, self-soothing as a mechanism and stuff. And so you and I wanted to kind of take it one step further and kind of address it in ways that we haven't maybe hit on precisely on the show.
Well, the hundreds of thousands of users that are listeners that are listening to our show right now, and we love you, they're very familiar with my man AJ headed to the mountain. Mental North. They're heading to me being quiet, subdued, seeking solitude. But there's more to life than just our wheelhouse or our default. We're going for the second round, third round, fourth round draft picks in the stress combative draft.
So I'm going to start off with my first draft pick, which is always my first draft pick, and that is
your wife.
My wife. No, if it was thinking KMRE, sorry, nope, that wasn't.
Nope, not this time, y'all.
No, so my wife gave me this note, which is because she recently, her and her sister actually went to a hot yoga class.
Oh, yes. It's a thing.
It's a thing. I didn't know what it was, but also out of that, before she did that, we actually took a trip up to Harrison Hot Springs.
Yes.
Just north of us, but it would be east of Vancouver. And great little place and stuff. Natural hot springs, la-di-da. But she was going into the steam room. And, going from, of course, it's winter here in the Pacific Northwest, so it's like 30-something degrees as you're walking outside, and then going straight into a steam room. Like, she found a big zen in that feeling, which is ironic because it's very that whole going from cold to hot, that stress, physical stress to the body, actually has a relaxing and even healing principle. I got a couple of links in the show notes. You don't have to do any references on this one.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Aston University out of Birmingham, United Kingdom, and Harvard actually has kind of survey research on how saunas can help de-stress you as well as have healing principles to the body.
Totally therapeutic.
We also see this culturally speaking, kind of dovetailing to kind of what our friend of the show, Deran, was talking about. Culturally speaking, if you look at Scandinavia, this sauna is deep-rooted in their culture.
Sure.
So, like, again, looking at a cultural aspect of how people dealt with stress, perhaps if you like the extreme heat, maybe this might be a way of blowing off some steam by getting some steam.
Literally. Very good. And I often talk about seeking solitude and such, but when I was thinking about what other ways in my second, third, fourth round draft picks for what I do to combat stress, what makes me smile on the inside, and there's a place in town that we talked about on the show previously. Love to give them some props. It's Cafe Adagio.
Yeah.
Coffee shop in off of Railroad Avenue downtown in the right ventricle of the heart of downtown Bellingham. Their atmosphere, their store or their business's layout, their music ambience of what they play completely connects like one of those home run derby mammoth grand slams upper deck with me. And so that's a place, if I need to go, if I got an hour to kill, which is a rarity nowadays, I would want to go there. And then also along those lines, another place that makes me smile, and I'll be smiling a lot more when we are allowed to go outside and not have to wear masks. And I totally understand everyone wanting to protect themselves. But when the weather gets, let's take 15 more degrees, shall we? To go to the Taylor Dock walk from the Chrysalis Hotel on the water in Bellingham over to Boulevard Park. It's a wonderful experience. Bonus points for an introvert if you use your earphones to listen to some quiet music or even a podcast just to let your mind have your me time. And then for me, I found also that, there's 5 ways for me to get to work. And that's a beautiful part of Bellingham. I could take, Alabama. I can take the highway. I could take Meridian. I could take whatever have you. But what I found is if I take Bakerview and I take Marine Drive and then take a abrupt right coming into Seaview Drive, it dumps me off onto the Roeder Avenue or Roeder Street by the water. Just such a pleasant stretch of road, 35 mile. Yep, by the waterfront, all the boats, 35 mile an hour zone. I go 40. Thanks very much. And I just kind of, this is a nice way to cruise like Will Smith's Summertime.
Yeah.
And then kind of a funny, my mind went to me locking in on playing my bass guitar along with music. Bonus points if I'm playing classic Stax Records, R&B, rhythm and blues music, Soul Man, hold on, I'm coming. I thank you. I mean, it's like Sam and Dave and Booker T and the MGs, that kind of stuff. Wheelhouse for stress reduction.
That's cool.
How you got talk about the two-wheel therapy.
Funny that you say wheelhouse and you were talking about driving. So I wanted to throw out for my motorcycle peeps out there, especially if you're up here in 48 degrees north and 122 degrees west.
Right.
There is a place, especially as we do get warmer temps and it's not 35 degrees all day every day. If you're at Bellingham and you want a sweet ride, obviously everybody knows about Chuckanut, which is a sweet drive even for four-wheelers.
Sure.
If you're going from Bellingham, I have a destination for everybody. Go from Bellingham, take Chuckanut, and take the long way all the way down to, if you're heading towards Anacortes, hook a left and head towards Whidbey Island. Now, a main drive for most folks is that they'll go to Coupeville, which is on the north side of the island. I would encourage you to keep going. You're going to keep going until you hit Langley, which is on the other side of the island. In Langley, your pull-off, my motorcycle enthusiasts, is the Saltwater Fish House and Oyster Bar. While you are there, you're going to say cheers because if you like oysters, probably some of the best oysters you can find. They range anywhere from here locally, from Taylor shellfish to not Padilla Bay. What's the other one that's really popular?
Sorry, man.
That's cool. I can't remember. I'm going to blame Dayquil on that one.
Yeah.
But they have a lot of local selections. They have a board that tells you how briny they are. So if you're not used to oysters, you can kind of ease yourself into tasting our waters. And then while you're there and you're waiting and sampling some of those oysters, you're going to order the seafood boil. And boy, howdy, Chris, this is Chris Powell approved because they bring you a bucket.
Yes.
A bucket of seafood. And literally, they have like the half boil and the full boil. And if you go and you have a hunger, order the half bucket. If you've been I don't know, fasting.
If you have a vendetta against your gastrointestinal system.
If you've been fasting for a day and you're going there for like dinner, then get the full bucket.
There you go.
But it's a great ride from Bellingham all the way down there. Get a good bucket of chow. I mean a bucket of chow, and then ride back home. You might want to take a nap afterwards.
Yes.
But that would be my two-wheel therapy for my Bellinghamsters.
Saltwater Fish House and Oyster Bar in Langley, on South Whidbey Island.
Oh yeah,
definitely. As we're wrapping up, we want to make there's a wonderful quote by Carrie Mae Weems as we are able to keep things in mind as we're talking about stress.
Yeah, so she's an American photographer and artist, and I just thought this was a very poignant quote given the two episodes that we had. In the darkest hours, the struggle is to keep on pushing and keep on advancing.
Absolutely. And no matter how bad things are getting, the sun is still going to rise, even though it may be obscured by clouds and rain, but we're going to be continuing forward, and we're going to live to see another day. We're going to get through this. If not, we're going to get through this. No matter what. And so that's our attempt to try to be hopeful and optimistic. I like that quote. It's like, keep on going.
Yes, keep on going.
Let's stick an optimistic fork in this show.
Wraps it up for this edition of the Bellingham Podcast. Thank you again so much for listening to us, rating us, reviewing us, wherever you like to get your podcasts. Remember, if you are in the Bellingham area before you ride down to Whidbey Island, you might be listening to us over the air on KMRE 102.3 FM.
They're community powered and they're streaming all over the world on the internet on kmre.org.
And on that, hopefully less stressful note from that unstressed city by the Salish Sea, I am AJ Barsay.
And I'm Chris Powell. Thanks once again for joining us on the Bellingham Podcast. I feel so much better being on this microphone after 147 shows and to be able to say what we want to say for people who listen and take part.
Word.
Word.